We're going to be talking about brotherhood during the month of October. And, I just go where God leads me. So we're going to start with a parable that Jesus shared. And this parable was during his last week on earth. And this is on Wednesday. And he has been talking with his disciples. And he's been telling them many things and telling them many parables. I wanted to share one thing. I'm in chapter 158 in the Aquarian. So he is preparing his disciples for what they must do once he is gone. And he tells a parable where people don't do what they're supposed to do. And I wanted to read this one thing, and then we'll go to the other one. Because you have neglected what was given to you to do, you are now reaping the effects of what you have done and what you have not done. Because you have neglected what is yours to do. I want us to keep that in our minds. Okay? Here's the parable we're going to work with today. It's talking about when people cross over at the end. There will be the day of when the books of light will be opened up, the books of remembering, and every thought and word and deed is written down of all of us, all the time. One can read for himself what he has done, and he will know what's going to be his future based on what he hears. So no one really needs to stand in judgment. He will really be awakened to behavior and patterns. But then he says this, here's your parable. The judge is righteousness, king of the earth, and he will separate the multitudes as shepherds separate sheep and goats. The sheep will find their places on the right and the goats upon the left. Now, in that day and time, they would have understood what that meant. Sheep follow the master's voice. Goats are independent. So they would have instantly understood this is a group of people that go to the right that have followed the leader of their master, their shepherd. And those rambling old goats do whatever they want, So they're over here on the left. Okay. Then he says, the judge will say, you blessed of the Father God to the sheep, come into your inheritance, that which was prepared for you. You were servants of the race. When I was hungry, you gave me bread. When I was thirsty, you gave me drink. When I was naked, you gave me clothes. When I was sick, you ministered to me. When I was in prison, you came with words of cheer. When I was a stranger, I found a home with you. Then the righteous will say, when did we see you? And do all these things for you. And the judge will say, you serve the sons of men, and whatsoever you have done for these, you have done for me. Very familiar, right? Then he goes on to say, to the left, all the rambling goats. When I was hungry, you didn't feed me. When I was thirsty, you gave me nothing to drink. When I was imprisoned and sick, you did not minister to me. And they will say, when did we thus see you? How did we neglect you? We didn't see you hungry, sick, or in prison. And the judge will say, your life was full of self. You served the self and not your fellow man. And when you slighted one of these, you slighted and neglected me. They who have ears to hear and to understand will comprehend the parable. So we can look at this parable and we can see that there are many layers working. We can see the physical layer of the devoted sheep who feed the people in need, who reach out to those in help. And I think as a people, we've done really well on that one, haven't we? On a physical level, we've done well. When I was preparing this, it was Monday, and I was just asking God, what is the service going to be about? Sunday, talk to me. Brotherhood, it's a big subject. And this parable came to me, and this is what Spirit said. Look at the parable, and in my mind, of course, I knew it, and I went over it in my mind and went, oh man, I could say that about myself. I could literally say, I have been hungry, and no one has fed me. I have asked for help, and no one has come forward for me. I have done the very same thing, and I stand unfulfilled on this earth plane because no one would step up for me. And of course I cried, that physical realization. And Spirit then said this, when you look at the physical, which we have been able to accomplish, we do give to those in need, don't we? And when we give to those in need, what is our expectation of them? Nothing. And do we see them as empowered, or do we see them as maybe at a different level of consciousness than us? We see them at a different level. We see that we have no expectations, and they are functioning slightly differently than we are. When you see me personally, Cindy personally, do you see me as equal to you? Most of you hold me in great expectations. Most of you are very uncomfortable when I'm sad. You do not like it. You do not like it when I'm breaking down. If I have a moment or an issue, it's like, oh, Cindy's going to the dark side. Oh, my. And when I need that help, when I need that reach out, and I need that feeding. My own church family is not there because I don't want to see it, Cindy. Put your light back on. Put on your light. That's what I want to see from you. You are the minister. You cannot be doing this. Do you hear? Okay. The difference is expectations and relationship. When we give to those that are in need, we have no expectations of them. When we see someone that we think should not be in need, we have greater expectations of them. And what do they need with my love, my light? Do you? All right. We're talking about brotherhood. In the parable, the sheep know the shepherd's voice. And the people that needed to be fed. Hungry, I am hungry and I'm thirsty, means I am disconnected from my source. I'm not getting the energy that I need. When I am naked and I am a stranger, I've lost my identity. And when I am in prison, I'm living in my limited thoughts. Do not all of us go into those spaces? All of us do. All of us need to be fed. All of us need to be nurtured. All of us go into limiting thoughts. All of us, every single one of us wakes up sometimes and says, am I a child of God? I hope so. I hope so. Because I'm not feeling it right now. I'm feeling disconnected. I'm feeling I have no identity. All right. We serve the sons of men. But when we are giving to these in need, we are holding them at a lower standard than ourselves. When we don't give to those that we have expectations of, we hold them at a higher standard than ourselves. Where's brotherhood? When this was given to me, Spirit was really clear. We cannot see a brother if we do not see them as our equal. If we do not see them as equal potentially to all that we are. And yet in our mind, do we not, what is the word when you categorize and file people in levels of commonality with you? And those that are more common to you are your brothers. That is how we do it on a physical level. But does that really take us to brotherhood? It does not. When I was working with this, and Spirit said, okay, here's the parable. Oh yes, you personally can relate to that. You really can relate to that. Okay, great. Now watch and learn, little one. Watch and learn. Because this is about something that you have not seen before. And Spirit said this. The parable is about the Christ. How often does the Christ knock at the door of our consciousness and say, feed me? How often does the I am of you knock at the door of your consciousness and say, nurture me, feed me? I'm in prison. Meet me. Come and see me. You are asking me to live in a prison. I'm still here. Come and see me in this prison. You guys hearing it? This is really about us. It's about each and every one of us. Each and every one of us. When I was sick, when I was hungry, that's what it says. When I was sick and I was hungry, who was the I? But the manifest of the Christ. We think, oh, God's never sick, God's never hungry, but God manifests through me is sometimes. Sometimes I'm so thirsty for spirit, I could cry. I'm so hungry to know God's will, I could cry. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I'm so caught in my own limiting thoughts, and I'm begging the Christ in me to come forward, and it's trying. Our whole experience on the planet to bring the Christ through the physical, the Christ through the emotional, the Christ through the mental, through the matter, to bring Christ through. The Christ is always ready to come in. When we are hungry, we are seeking divine guidance, they said. When we are thirsty, we're seeking love. When we are in prison, we're seeking to be released from the limited potential. And when we're a stranger, we're struggling with our identity. I should be able to leave my house every single day, and know that every single person I see sees that I am God's child, and I see that they are God's child. But we don't have that, do we? And why don't we have that? Are we tending what we were supposed to tend? Or are we neglecting that which is ours to do? And if ours is to Christ, if ours is to truly follow Jesus in understanding how to be the love of God manifest on earth, not just how to do the miracles. So many people want to follow Jesus to learn to heal. I want to learn to heal so everybody will call me the greatest healer in the world. Okay, you can do that. I want everybody to love me like they love Jesus. Okay, you can do that. But is that what he asked us to do? He asked us to bring the light into where we are, into our world, and to Christ. These are the ways that we block the Christ and we live in the lower expectations for self. Okay, the lower expectations for self. You didn't think you had that, did you? But you do. How many times do you let yourself off the hook? I could be dynamic, but I'm tired. I could do this, but I'm tired. We let ourselves off the hook so much that when the time comes that we're starving for spirit, we can barely find it. We can barely find it because when we let ourselves off the hook and we're not even talking to God, we're in our minds separating our awareness from God, who is always present. We have neglected that which was given to us to do. I wanted to read the new commandment that he left on the last night. This is right before he was arrested. You know it. I want to read it. You've heard it 1,000,000 times. I want you to hear it again. I give you a new commandment. As I love you and give my life for you, you love the world, give your life to save the world, but not in the way you think, people. Because he says this, love one another as you love yourselves. Then the world will know you are sons of God. And he says many times, love your neighbor as yourself. Love your brother as yourself. As yourself, as yourself. Love them as yourself. How do you love yourself? How much do you think you really have to give when you are empty? How much do you think really flows through you when you have been neglecting that which is yours to do? And it doesn't mean you have to be walking on water. It doesn't mean you have to be manifesting miracles. It just means you have to be open to, I was hungry, feed the Christ within you. Let the love of the Christ come through you. Let those limiting thoughts melt before the Christ. Let the idea that you are a divine child of God become active every moment. Even when you're in casual conversation, even when you're in conversation of things that are going on, our world right now, our United States is not demonstrating Christ consciousness. That sounds judgmental. We are demonstrating Christ consciousness at various levels of expression. Let me say that. That's the truth. I normally don't get involved. I'm very, very aware of not putting my will on anyone. And so I asked God the other day, can I pray for the country, God? Can I pray for the country? For divine intervention? And you know what Spirit said to me? Pray for the people in the country. Pray for the people in the country, not the country. Because it's up to them. It's up to their free will, their choices. And not for them to do your will, but for them to be enlightened and inspired, that's all. Pray for the people of the country to be lifted so they can be clear. That's all. Whatever theirs is to do, they need to do. Do you see the difference? The Christ in me expressing, even at the level that I am manifesting today. The Christ in me expressing. Okay. How can we see each other as brothers when we hold everyone to different standards and expectations? Namaste. The Christ in me beholds the Christ in you, and when the Christ in me sees the Christ in you, we are one. Namaste. How would we live if we saw the Christ in each other? We would be one. I wouldn't judge your choices. You wouldn't judge my choices. I'd say, brother, I wouldn't script that for you. You'd say, well, I couldn't do what you're doing either. High five and move on. We're all about the Father's business, doing what our soul needs to do. When I am in fear and the fear in me sees the fear in you, fear creates separation. When the limitation in me sees the limitation in you, we're creating separation. When the Christ in me sees the Christ in you, I see you as a chooser. I see you as a chooser. You have absolutely chosen that moment as a chooser. Got it? Okay. So that was all on Monday. And Friday night, I got a call. My nephew had been killed in a head-on automobile accident. Justin. And he would be 37 this month. So, oh man, I was human trying to be divine. I was human trying to be divine. Praying, of course, praying. I couldn't feel him. I saw the light. I couldn't feel him. And I called David and Amber were in the car, and so they stopped, and we all prayed. Patrick and I, David and Amber, for Justin. And when we had all of our hearts together, I could feel the great peace. The peace over Justin, the peace he was feeling. But I couldn't feel it myself before that moment. But when I could feel it, I knew it was okay. Like it was okay. And then several sob sessions later, you know, it's hard as a human because we feel that separation. We feel the tear in the blanket. We feel the energy blanket that we've all been living in now has a hole in it. And you can literally feel it. We feel the pain of our family and the pain of my sister and the pain of the whole family. And we're sending love and sending love. But it took me a while because I couldn't see the rightness of it. I couldn't see what made sense. I couldn't see why would he go. He's doing good. He's got a wife. He's got a 9-year-old, 19-year-old roundabouts. He's happy. He's working. Everything's good in their lives. Why would he go? And it wasn't his fault. He was hit. He was hit. A day of processing. I have to stand and say, I behold the Christ in you, Justin. And I know your soul needed to go. I know that. Is it my will? No. Is it my desire? No. But honoring who he was as a being, yes. And people will say, were you close? Were you guys close? Like, if you were really close, I'm going to hug you, and if you weren't really close, I'm not going to hug you. Hug me. He was my nephew. There is love. He had his own lifestyle. I had mine. We did not mesh. He was young. But there was respect and love. There's love. Everyone is connected. We're all connected. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? We're all connected. But in our connections, do we give each other the freedom to do what we need to do? Can I still love someone whose life's choice is, I don't understand, even the whole, that child lived in my prayer basket most of his life. His mom would call and say, hey, put Justin in your prayers again. He's in them, We have to learn to love each other and respect our differences, because the choices that each of us is making is for us. It's not for anyone else. So, how do we feed the Christ? Each of us needs to feed the Christ. We need to not neglect that which is ours to do, and ours to do is to tend to our own spirits, Stay on our path, walk what is good for us, and do what is good for us. And I know that my nephew was celebrated at home, and he wasn't a church kid. But he was celebrated at home. Do you understand what I'm saying? We hold each other to such our own perceptions. We have to free each other. All right. How do we feed our own inner Christ and not neglect our spirit? Meditation, that. You hear it, meditate. You know why you meditate? Do you know what one of the wonderful things is about meditation? Is you surrender. You cannot meditate if you do not surrender. You are surrendering to spirit. You're surrendering to a love that is greater than you know. Who wouldn't meditate? Why wouldn't you want to meditate? A love greater than you know. Spirit said this, and I wrote it down exactly. Look for, expect, and call forth God movement in all aspects of your life. Look for, expect, and call forth God movement in all aspects of your life. Create a space for God to move through you. If you've known me for any length of time, you know that I'll say, Spirit needs me to go do something. Spirit told me to go to Scotland. Spirit told me to go here. And then I go, and everybody's going, poor thing, she's losing her mind. But the reality is, do you know why I was asked to go? And do you know why Spirit needed someone to go? Because God needed a human being to participate at bringing a light to something. Do you know our Father and Mother God could come to this planet and light it up like nobody's business in 2 seconds? We would have zero problems. We would have zero issues. We'd all be like little angels. Do you think that's going to happen? No, because that's not why we were put here. That's not why this was created. It was created so we could choose to love and grow the Christ in matter, understanding relationships. We are here about understanding relationships. When we're in spirit, we're one. Namaste, we're one. Down here, we pretend like we're not. And we try to understand how to relate to one another. What you think of me is so important to me. What I think of you is so important to you. We need to understand we can be one here too. This world is a great opportunity for us. But it's about bringing the Christ into matter, going where Spirit tells you to go, being the channel of that Christed consciousness through you in a given situation. Being the one human that says, okay, God, I'll take the light for you. I don't know what I'm doing, but I will. I know you've been there in varying degrees, because we all are. All right. We need to create this space, and we need to connect. Heal the disconnect, the identity. I am child of God. Just acknowledge it. Child of God. And when I am a child of God, there are no limitations. I get to choose again. I'm a child of God, I get to choose again. I'm a child of God, I get to choose again. I ask the presence of the Christ to be within me. I ask the nurturing love of God be present within me. I ask to express the unlimited potential of the I am. Now I am connected, I have an identity, and I am unlimited. And please remember those three things. You feed your Christ by staying connected, by realizing your identity, and by realizing you are unlimited. Not hard, but it requires diligence. When we are in this, we see our brothers as the same. as totally empowered and totally connected and totally God's child. And whatever they're choosing is none of our business. Stay on our path. Stay on your path. Stay on your path. Stay connected. I was very interested about how Spirit brought this down, because we're working on brotherhood, and I thought we'd go a completely different direction because brotherhood can be so easily done. And Spirit's like, no, let's start with the really hard part. The really hard part is you cannot see your brother if you cannot see yourself. That's the really hard part. So once we start trying to see ourselves, then we can truly begin to see our brothers. So, see without expectations. See without standards. Don't give them standards. You are choosing your world. Let your brother choose his. If we could get that down just for a week, we could change our lives. And I know I've been saying it over and over and over again, but Jesus did that too. He not only spoke in parables, which had many, many layers of understanding, but he repeated himself quite a bit so that the words would be etched in the ethers of time. And when the people were ready, they could hear. And that is why he always said, he who hath an ear, let him hear. Let's go with him. Just breathe. Feel that beautiful light of our Creator coming over us. Father, Mother God, I ask that your light engulf each one. And I ask that a beautiful column of light surround them, each in their own space, unique to them. And I would invite each of you just to feel that vibration of love. And I want you to let your focus go to the heart, your own heart, the heart center. Feel your heart and feel God love. I ask that the love of God move through me now. I know I am a child of God. I am unlimited and I'm free. Now breathe, and I want you to, in your mind, if you can, repeat after me. You don't have to say it out loud. Show me, Father, Mother God, that which is mine to do. To demonstrate and express my Christ. And just feel energy pouring through you. You may not get a word, you may not get a vision, you may feel energy, but because you were able to ask, the answer is coming. How must I alter my behavior? What must I do? Feel your angels coming forward, surrounding you, and feel the gentleness of Spirit. And feel that you are forever loved. Forever loved. And God, I thank you and I ask that you bless each one as they shine their light so we can truly see the brotherhood of man. We are so grateful. Gently breathe, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Well, if we're going to walk with Jesus, we've got big shoes to fill, as they would say. And we can start this week just by trying. Just taking time to know self, taking time to love you. Taking time to see just one person. as your brother, as a Christ, and let it grow. Yay, God.
Yay, God.